Hi, everybody, and welcome to El Camino People, the podcast. Today, live episode 53. We already been talking about the Camino de Santiago, interviewing pilgrims almost more than 100 times because we run the Spanish podcast and the English podcast. So today, as you know, we're going to be talking about footwear. All these things that we have for the Camino, all these little tricks that some people have. I think right now we are all getting closer to this big summer of 2022, the second year of the Sacobeo, and a lot of people sometimes they don't know what to wear. So here we have a couple of friends, and we're going to be talking about what are the best options to work on the Camino. Hello, Thorsten. Hello, Dennis. How are you doing? Thank you for being here with us.
Hello from Germany.
Yeah,
so let me introduce you from Spain. Yes, let me introduce you these two guys. With Thorsten, you already seen him in a couple of shows, and we also interviewed him a while ago. And Dennis, we met in Pamplona when he was walking the Camino, and suddenly, I don't know, we connected. I think we were two Camino freaks, and suddenly there was that connection. Now he is living in Spain, living the dream in the south, the beautiful weather. And he's also one of those long distance hiker and also a pilgrim. So today we brought both. They are both into hiking. You both have done other things other than the Camino. So that also gives us a little information about the differences, because sometimes a lot of people, they think the Camino is a long distance, and it is, but in a way it's totally different because you don't have to wear the gear or the stuff that you have to wear on the PCT or the year 11 or working on the Dolomite. So the whole idea of today is to bring you guys some clearance, or not, probably, maybe not, but we will try to do our best and tell you the different things that usually work for us. And if you're in your first Camino, some ideas what you have to look for. Also, let me remind you that, if you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, please go subscribe. Not for anything, but, at least we will get to more people, and more people will discover this channel and learn a little bit more about the Camino. And if you have any questions, you can ask anytime. We will, grab them and answer you whenever we feel ready and the conversation goes there. So what is the biggest mistake, guys, that you've been doing with, let's start with something fun, a big mistake that you guys did with your feet, with your footwear. And Dennis, I met you, so I know that you do some weird stuff when you're hiking. So share something.
I don't even know what that means.
Say something. The first time I see this guy was with a broken t-shirt. It was like, so it was kind of like I still have that impression. So probably you have a fun story to share about the walking the Camino.
So of course, like my shirts tend to break down after a few thousand kilometers. I think that's normal at one point, and I just didn't have like the money to buy new stuff all the time, so I just used it until it really completely fell apart and people were staring at me in the streets. So,
and I want to point out that he said 1,000, and 1,000 was by the time he arrived in Pamplona. So that was, he was when did you start your Camino? Where? Sorry.
So in 2020, I started my Camino, which wasn't planned as a Camino, but I started in my hometown in Germany, in Prüm. Which is around Cologne area. And then I took like a couple of months inside Germany, took a loop there, and then went over down to Geneva on the Camino to Santiago then.
Wow, quite impressive. And you, Thorsten, any fun story about your hikings or your Camino?
Well, I can tell. When I did the Camino Frances in 2019, I bought myself a pair of new hiking shoes, and they were quite good. But in fact, I did not wear them most of the time. I carry them around with them most of the time, and I wore my running shoes, and that was definitely, and that's also what I recommend to everybody who asks me, especially for the Camino Frances. I always say, hey, choose shoes as light as possible, because you will have the most fun and the best walking and hiking experience with them.
I agree with you 100%.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I have questions myself now. Did you like really use like running shoes or trail runners?
No, my normal running shoes. So what I did is I had these hiking shoes, and as a backup, I put my normal running shoes. So I do a lot of running, and so shoes, I think, which I already ran a marathon with. So my normal running shoes, and they are not the like 5 kilometer speed running shoes, right? So but no trail running shoes. I think from my opinion, it's important to choose the shoes where you feel comfortable with, right? And so there are running shoes that are a little bit more, how to say, that stabilize a little bit more, and there are others that have no stabilization at all. And still, yeah, I think the important thing is to have a light shoe, because when I did the Camino Portugues in 2018, I think, so I wear my hiking boots, which are much heavier. It was okay, so I had no problems. But still, if I would do it again, I would recommend to just use running shoes. And maybe for some people, it's the trail running shoe that fits better, and for others, it's just a normal running shoe you use anyway.
If you guys think, I have all of them here, so I think we can go one by one. And one of the things that I think is key is when we talk about the Camino, there's no one size fit at all. And like a lot of people, they say, oh, Camino go with hiking boots. Oh, Camino do it with flip-flops. Camino do it with sandals. And I seen people go walking barefoot, and they were doing great. Like this was a German guy. He was already walking barefoot for 2 years, and it was impressive. Like he got less blisters, and here they're asking, what about rain? And that's one of the things that we need to talk a lot when we're talking about the Camino de Santiago. We need to be also careful which time of the year we are walking and which Camino, because the Camino Frances is totally different than the Camino del Norte or even the Via de la Plata. If you do the Via de la Plata in the summer, you probably don't need as much grip as you need with other Camino. But I think, guys, we need to start maybe with the basics. A lot of people, they don't know the differences of shoes. No, when we talk about running shoes or hiking shoes or even boots, what is the difference? So I think we can start with the first one. What is a no for the Camino? No, something like this.
Yeah.
This is a winter, no super winter, because it's not plastic, but as you can say, this is something heavy, And again, this may work for someone, but I don't think anyone is going to go the Camino with this. One of the things we're going to be looking always is weight. And for me, it's breathable, if they are breathable. I don't know if you guys also go with that, or it's not important for you, the weight, and if they are breathable.
For sure. I think weight is a huge topic, breathable, and also the, what's the English word? The basis of the shoe.
Yeah.
How flexible it is. Because like if you have like a mountain boot, so I have similar ones, right? They are built to hold crampons in if you want to go up mountains and stuff, and therefore the basis of the shoe is really hard. And this could, if you do long distance hikes, that could cause you big trouble in your lower legs, in your muscles. So you will get problem because your feet cannot move enough. And so that is, if you're not highly trained on walking long distances with these shoes, that definitely will cause problems, even if you're used to walking, to running and these things. So this is something to be careful with, actually.
What do you think, Dennis, about this kind of boots? Something for the Camino or not?
No, absolutely not. Like there's a saying like that every 500 grams, what was the saying? I think like every 500 grams equal something like 5 kilos on your back. So the heavier your shoe, the more you have to carry, and you have to carry them every single step again and again every day. And there's like a couple of million steps you go like across the Camino. So I go with the same thing. Like trail runners would be the maximum what I would go like for the Camino. Everything above is like overkill. And to the question,
we're gonna keep going down. I have here all my wardrobe, so we're gonna keep going down. I think those boots are winter, no? As we say, they are super stiff. One of the things we need to be careful is all the muscles. Usually in the Camino, we're gonna be walking flats and we're gonna be walking up and down. A lot of people tiptoe; they're too heavy, as you were saying. When you walk, first of all, for me, one of the key things is I want my feet to breathe. I would rather get them wet if you walk 25K or 30K, if it rains, they're going to get wet no matter what. So when Jose was asking about rain, I'm like, if it's rain. I'm like, this is, it's in Galicia. If
then your feet get wet, it is what it is. But
you dry them when you get to the albergue. The same with clothing. I would rather get wet than be, all wet inside with those kind of covers. But we will talk about that other day. So let's go. I think
there is a simple trick actually. If you do not want to get wet feet, just go to the supermarket to the fruit and vegetable
those bags
department and take these small plastic bags and put them over your feet and then go into the shoe, and it will keep your feet dry in terms of avoiding that you get blisters because of wet feet.
Yeah, but it also brings the other point. I'm like, all the wet from the heat, and it depends, what kind of person you are. And this is one of the things that we all have different bodies. For me, I know that my feet suffer, and I know that I get blisters no matter what I do because of the shape I have really wide, and that's something that we need to know. Also, there's different kinds of brands that, for example, if you go for Adidas, it's not really wide. There's other ones that, for example, I think, the Brooks are wider, but you need to try different brands. There's no one, some people will say, oh, here are these guys talking about the brand that they like. It's because we try them, we fail. Sometimes you have to wear them because you have to wear them, but try them all and ask people about them. I'm like, I used to wear Nikes. Now I don't wear Nikes. I used to wear something because they fit better with my feet, and each feet is different. So what you were saying at the end, putting plastic and not letting your feet breathe, for me, that's a no. I would rather get them wet, but some people do it, so it may work. So let's keep going down. Hiking boots. This is a normal hiking boot. This is our Mendel. This is here from Spain. They have a Vibram insole. You can see here they are well used. These have their years, but what do you guys think about these ones for the Camino?
No go.
No go. Why? Dennis, go first.
It's too heavy. It's over. It's just overkill. Like there's not even on the Camino Primitivo where you have like that heavy terrain that you need like boots like this. It's just plain overkill. It's like going with like a too big backpack is same kind of.
But you agree with that, Dennis? So Thorsten?
Yeah, I think so too. As I said, I did the Camino Portugues with my hiking boots, and well, if you are used to, it's possible. But as Dennis said, it's not necessary, and it's more weight to carry around, and it's less comfortable.
Here they say hiking boots first thing people leave on the way, and it's true.
Yeah.
The only reason I will use hiking boots is for any people that have ankle issues, because they have a great suggestion. They really can hold your feet and they have a lot of grip. But other than that, unless you're doing a winter Camino and you're going to be doing on Cebreiro in January, full of snow, it's by itself probably like 300 grams. Put it underwater, put it until it's a no-no. And this comes from 3 hiking guys. I don't even use this for my trekking anymore. I'm done. I'm like this. I used to wear in the old days. A lot of people, they ask me, why do you don't use boots? I'm like, I don't need them. I would rather go light. Also, I know my ankles and they don't twist. I don't know if you guys, but it can happen. If you have problems with your ankles, great. If you're doing snowy Caminos, yes. Other than that, as Karen was saying, garbage. Let's go to the middle. What about something like this?
Yeah. That's an all-terrain go-to shoe. Like I use similar ones, trail runners. Totally fine.
These are not trail runners. These are Columbia. Really, they are not super light, but they are light enough. They have, as you can see, guys, here closer, really, really small grips. So, for example, this is one of the ones that if you're doing, for example, the Primitivo, but if you're the Camino Frances, this is going to run off by the time you get to Cebreiro. And if there's raining, you're going to slip down like so. It's something that also a lot of people, they don't think. I'm like walking on the road. These shoes are not made for walking on the roads because they get destroyed. I'm like, so.
Yeah, true. I had, I think, similar ones on my Camino Frances. And as I said, due to blister problems that I had, I switched to my running shoes and it was way better for me.
Also the
because-
weight, and like they are light
Exactly,
compared
exactly.
to the boots, but they still have some weight to them. One of the things that we can see, they are much more breathable than the boots that we have prior to this. If you compare, like this, has some, the fabric is totally different. There's no way. Sometimes this one, I don't know if it's, this is Gore-Tex, and that will be my next question. And this is Outdry, some other kind of like registered brand. So question for you guys, Gore-Tex or no Gore-Tex? Or any of the similar fabrics out there? And you go first, Thorsten.
Well, I would say, as I said, so since I was lucky with the weather most of the time 2019, but when going from Santiago to Finisterre, we had like 4 days of rain. Well, not all the time, but most of the time. And for me, the trick with the plastic bags worked totally fine for these heavy rain days. And therefore, for me, the most breathable shoe, as you would say, is the best, or was the best option.
What about you, Dennis? Is worth it spending a little more on Gore-Tex or any of these specific fabrics, or not for you?
No, I don't think so. Like my first pair of hiking shoes I had, first pair, like I had a couple pairs of them. They were Gore-Tex, but after a while they get wet anyways. So it's not worth spending more money just because like there's GTX on the name. No.
Also, one of the things for me, I feel that they're much less breathable than any other fabrics. So as you were saying, for example, if I have shoes to walk in my town because it rains, I'm like, I would think about getting Gore-Tex. You just get a splash and that will cover. But as you say, if it rains, you're going to get wet no matter what. There's only one way you're not going to get wet. Take your shoes off and walk barefoot. Then they wouldn't get wet. But other than that, I think the Gore-Tex is great for winter gear, maybe for clothing. That's maybe a good investment. But for shoes, I don't think so. So far, this option ish. And now let's compare. Normal, let's say hiking, mountain hiking, or trail runners. And here we see the difference between trail runners and hiking. What do you guys? Thorsten, probably you will go for these ones.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you will. I think there is only one thing that you have to look out, because there are many ways where you walk on on gravel ways, right? And if the basis of the shoe is not thick enough, you will feel the little stones. Still, as I said, I think and it was not even a trail running shoe that I used. The normal running shoe went so well for me, and it felt so well because it's, as you said, maximum breathable. So the trade-off, I think, is the best, or was the best for me. And
and that's what people have to look for, the best for them. There's no one, and sometimes you need to do mistakes to find it out. What about you, Dennis? Are you more into the running super light ones, super breathable? If you can see here, this is nothing. You can see here the holes, but this is like,
I have like a little bit more into the hiking shoes than
more into the hiking.
They fall also into the part of trail runners, but like it's like a little bit more somewhere in between. But the thing is, like, since I not only hike like on caminos where there's all road walking, I want to have a little bit more in terms of like stability and sole, and it's also durability. Like regular running shoes or trail runners, they are, after like a few 100 kilometers, they are just done and you can throw them away. Like with proper hiking shoes, you can at least go like between, I would say, like 12 to 1500 kilometers.
That's a little bit too much right now. Remember that all the running shoes and hiking, they have an expiration date. They will say they have kilometers that they are supposed to work, but again, this is, like walking by.
That is interesting. I was in a shoe shop and I asked them like, how long will they last? And they say, yeah, it's depending on how long
It's
you will
about how
use
you
them.
walk, of course.
So,
And you
I
can see
told
we
him,
are... Go ahead.
So I asked him, like, what if I use them every day? Then you can have them like for 4 years. So when I showed them like my shoes totally broken down, holes everywhere. So I told them like, okay, these shoes are now 3 months old. That's not possible.
And that's the thing. A lot of people, we all walk different, and we need to know how we walk and how we use our feet, because at the end, there's also different shoes for the way you use your foot, your movement. If you are pronator or supinator, I don't know if in English is correct, but correct me if I'm mistaken. But for example, I know that for me, you can, as you were saying, this is a super light. This is probably, I'm like, this one is probably 10 times this one weight. But you can see here, there is nothing. There's nothing. I'm like, I use this one because I love it, but if it rains or if I'm going anywhere, there's no grip to the ground or anything. And these have probably like 500 kilometers. This one, on the other hand, they probably still have like 600, and they're brand new. I also use them, as you were saying, just for normal walk. I wouldn't use them for a Camino. I go for a 10K or what, or something really, really easy that doesn't destroy them as the Camino will go, because the Camino we go from road to trail, and the road is the worst thing for these ones. These ones, running shoes, they are not made for road, because this is super soft, and that's one of the things that you're gonna destroy them. So if you're gonna be doing the Frances, these ones may be not a good choice, because by the time you get to Leon, they're done. But if you like them, you don't need the grip other than Nocebrero. But let's go.
I think it depends, right? It depends on the shoes. So when I had my running shoes with me, and I already ran a couple of 100 kilometers with them in my trainings, and I used them to hike almost all of the Camino Frances from Saint-Jean until Santiago. So I think I used them for more than 1,000 kilometers, which I know is above what I should have used them, but they were still working for me. So I had, and I have sometimes knee problems, so I would feel if they break down, right? So it's, as you already said, I think it's important to find out what shoe fits you, and maybe also, to definitely have some experience with the shoe. So, we know that, don't buy a shoe and then go to the Camino or any other way. But
that's a big no-no.
Test them a little. And so from my experience, it's not like every running shoe is breaking down after 300 kilometers or something.
No, this one is just because this is a trail. This is just for mountain, so it's not made for any asphalt. As for, for example, and now we will talk, like Jose pointed out, this is a Hoka. I'm like, this has insole for thousands of kilometers. There's no way you get destroyed this, but it's totally a different kind of shoe. So I like that Jose was asking here about weight, and that's really important, because a lot of people, as you were saying, Thorsten, suffers from your knees, and running is one kind of impact. When you're running, you're impacting totally different. When you walk in the Camino, the impact is much less. So you can go, for example, this is a marathon running, and this is a short distance running. Look at the difference. And even the drop, that's one of the biggest things right now, the drop impact. So this makes a big difference. If you have knee problems or whatever, doing Hoka is going to be feeling much more safer, softer, and it's going to be much more, but they weigh a little more. And also it's weird when you start walking with these ones, as walking with something like this is much more comfortable, and they are lighter and it feels different. But I don't know, what do you guys think about the weight? It's a big thing to look for on a shoe, because right now they also have specifications for how much you are supposed to weigh, but I think it's more for running than for hiking, no?
I think the cool or the good thing about running shoes is that there are so many different models and types available, and you can go to a shop and find a pair that fits you well. And so there are shoes, as you said, very light for fast 5 or 10 kilometer runs, and there are shoes that are more for marathon runners, shoes that give you more stability. And I think these shoes are also working pretty well for people with more weight, because it's high tech that is built into this shoes, right? And so you need to look out for the one that works for you. And then especially the ones you showed, which are more made for marathons or long runs, work pretty well and for long hikes.
Will you just use something like this, or are you more into the light insole?
I'm also more with the marathon-like running shoes, and I only have one pair of running shoes that I use at a time, and it's always one of these.
What about you, Dennis? Are you?
I only have my hiking shoes. I only have my hiking shoes.
But also on hiking shoes, we can go. There's different insoles, and even the drop here. You can see these ones, the Columbia, they have a huge drop, and some others are going onto less. And also right now we're seeing a tendency that is great, that Jose was pointing out, the weight, how they are getting into wider here. So you can see Hoka is one of the ones that is doing a lot of processing to that, getting the drop, this is what is called the drop, a little wider for stability. And it looks weird if you look at the back. This is like 5 years ago, there was nothing like that. If you look at the marathon, they even have like spikes here. But for hiking, I don't think we need anything else. No, Dennis?
I am not using running shoes at all, so I don't even can talk with that. So it's just the thing is, I saw like on my last Camino, I saw like a guy like tall like me, 2 meters, like I don't know, at least 100 kilos. He was.
That's the thing. You're a big guy.
He was fit as hell. You could directly see he's a football player. Like he had legs like they were massive, and he was doing nothing else than running his whole life. And he was, I don't know where he was. It was still in France, and he was on his second day, and he was crying in the bar, not even wanting a beer because he had all blisters and his muscles were giving up. And that was just because like, although he was used to running a lot and being a lot of with the shoes, that additional weight from the backpack, he was not used to that, and that everything went down on the shoes, and it just gave up because like the combination between like his running shoes and the additional weight of the backpack, that just didn't fit anymore. And he would have better used like hiking shoes in that part.
Probably, and it's great that you point that out, because I think a lot of people, we see all these fit guys in the Camino, that they seem ready to kill, like the gym guys or whatever, and you see the old men that they are walking little by little, that some person that they haven't even go to the gym or run in their life, and they walk little by little. So at the end, everything is about how your body goes into the walking mode, and walking has nothing to do with running, has nothing to do with hiking. A guy that goes to the Everest maybe goes to the Camino and get blisters. The Camino and any long-distance hike is so different. So as you were saying, then it's great that you pointed out that sometimes being a runner doesn't mean that you're going to be doing great on the Camino, because of the distance, the weight, the way you walk is totally different. So even for people that exercise a lot, sometimes in the Camino, they are the first one. I've seen a lot of people that they seem super fit, that they are in the Camino, as you were saying, they become criers because they cannot make it. I don't know if you have any similar experience, Thorsten.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the most important lessons on the Camino, right? That it's a long distance thing, and it's not about hurrying, but it's about getting into the right speed for yourself. And I think for most people, it's about learning on the first days that they usually start too fast. Right. So I can tell it was the same for me. I was like, and I did not get into problems. Still, one important thing I had to learn is on the first days, or maybe on the first week, to just slow down a little and to tell myself, hey, it's not about being the first at wherever I want to go that day, but just, go a little slower. It turned out I did not walk much slower, but mentally it was totally different. And I think that's maybe a big problem for all these sports guys who think of it like a competition, and I need to be the first, and I need to walk the most kilometers per day. And that's not what it is. And if you need a break, you need a break. That's also something I think many people have to learn on the Camino, right? That sometimes your body
someone
says,
that is listening, the break.
Today is 1 day break, and that's it.
And even walking and taking breaks during your walk, I walk with many pilgrims that they just want to, they get into a good pace and they don't want to stop. And I always say every 2 hours, you need to take at least a 5-10 minutes break for your body. But when you're on the Camino and hike like this, you're going to also need to take a break to enjoy the scenery, to go to the bar, to have a beer, to talk with a stranger, to take a picture to a flower, or I don't know if you are like the Dennis. What do you think?
Yeah, my first Camino, I had the same problems. Like I had my first 2 days, I walked alone. It was okay. And then I met like 3 guys, and they started in, where did they start? Don't let me lie. Somewhere in France. In Le Puy, yeah. They started in Le Puy. So they already had like 1,000 kilometers in front of me. So they were fit as hell, and I just started walking like with them, like trying to get their pace. And of course, that was after 3 days. Like I was the one crying, and I had to have like a rest day, and I was almost as far as quitting the whole Camino because like everything hurt. And gladly it worked out, like after a rest day, and I could walk again. But it was a pretty bad experience, and I did not learn of it like directly. It took me like, I don't know, 2 years to learn from it. So but for everybody who's listening now, like listen to your body. It's like telling you things.
And that's a big lesson, because sometimes, a lot of people, they think that going the Camino fast can kill you, but going slow can also kill you. So it's finding your own pace in the Camino. And sometimes you can go with someone for a little stronger, but sometimes, and we see this a lot in the Camino Frances, when you try to stay with the same group because you're having fun and you know that they're going together and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, just ask them where they're going, which albergue they're going to stay, get together for a beer. But as you were saying, if you continue with that is not your own pace, if it's faster or slower, I don't care. Maybe by day 3, you're going to be going home because your body and your mind are destroyed.
Yeah, and I think that's also one of a very important lesson, because the Camino is a lot about letting go things, right? And letting go, how to say, necessities, right? I need to do this. I need to catch up with these guys. I want to see them again. And it's about leaving that, and then you will meet the people again anyway. So if you do not plan, and if you do not hurry to meet them again, the Camino will provide, and you will meet them again for sure. So, and that's also one, I think one of the important lessons I learned definitely on the Camino.
And I think another one is taking the day off. You were both saying that you took days off, and some people, they said, "Off 1 day off means that all the people that I was walking is going to be 1 day ahead of me." So
it is what it is.
Do you know what I called it? A pilgrim cleanse. It cleanses your whole family, and you get to know a new family. And by the end, if you do a day off at the beginning, usually days off that I suggest is always Burgos, Leon, because they are big cities, there's stuff to do. Or you can take a day also in Rabanal, places that is nothing other to do than just relax. But by the time you get to Santiago, you guys know it well, the people spread so wide along the Camino that you're going to be meeting people that's going to be taking a day off ahead of you. There will be others. And also, that's the whole deal of the Camino.
Hey, and sometimes taking a day off means it brings people back to you that you left behind. So that was the thing for me, since I was walking fast and doing long days in the beginning. Doing 1 day off in Leon, I think, let me on the next day when I moved on, let me meet again with a bunch of people I haven't seen for like 2 weeks. So, right, this works in both directions. It's not only you are leaving people, you are already also bringing, or people are coming back to you when you take a break sometimes. So,
how long did you used to walk, Dennis? Like your normal day, how many kilometers will be?
On my first Camino, it was, I think, like 25 kilometers, maybe 25 kilometers.
25. So the average, more or less.
Yeah. I just had a guidebook and just walked after the guidebook and didn't care too much because I didn't know better. On my second Camino, I had like probably an average of 33 kilometers or so. But that was also like on the Camino Norte, like since everything was, or most of it was closed in the pandemic, that I had to choose like the hostels there, the albergues, which one were open. So sometimes it was just a 20-kilometer day, sometimes it was like a 45-kilometer day.
Yeah.
But I think like on average around 30 always. Yeah.
What are you, Thorsten?
I think my average was like around 30. So, but I had a wide spread. So I think I remember going to Pamplona. It was only a 15-kilometer day. I had one day where I was sick, where I just walked to the next village, 8 kilometers. And I think my longest day was like 45. And that was the day before Santiago, actually, because it was like, I just felt like, yeah, I want to walk. And then I just walked on and walked on and walked on.
And that's a big thing, that you just see sometimes a lot of people on Facebook complaining and chatting, the distance of the day. Oh, people that walk 45K, they don't enjoy. I'm like, there's all kind, I wish I had, like, right now there's any big movement and they're called slow walkers. They walk like 10K a day. I'm like, I wish I had the money and the time to do a Camino 10K a day. That must be incredible. And like, as they were saying, I don't think there's enough breaks and I don't think beers probably. But sometimes some people that like to hike, I'm like, it's super enjoyable to do a 40K. It's amazing, when you feel well, and some other times when you're in things like the Camino del Norte, the Via de la Plata, there's no other way that you can get to the spot. So if you know yourself and you know that you cannot do 30K, research wisely, because probably the Via de la Plata is not going to be your Camino. Go for the Frances, go for the Portuguese, and that's also very important when choosing the right footwear. No.
Yeah, I think the beautiful thing on especially on the Camino Frances, is that you have so many opportunities where you can stay. So it was, for me, it was like, I did not plan to go this distance on the day. It was more like, okay, I just do not want to stop here. I feel like I want to move on. And this is a great feeling, because you do not walk because you think you have to, or you need to, or you want to challenge yourself. It's just, it feels to be the right thing. And that was an incredible experience for me. Just being in the flow, I would say.
I agree. I think, the Camino, and the beauty of the Frances is that you can do that. And like, I don't care. Maybe this year, if you're doing it during the summer of May, if you're on the last 100Ks, plan a little bit, because you may be walking all the way to Santiago. Yeah. But other than that, even the Camino Frances in the summer, and you both done it, I'm like, I haven't had any problem at all. Didn't book anything, didn't plan anything. The Camino del Norte is a little more challenging because there's not so much. And also the albergues, they have, tourists during the summer, but for that you can watch the previous video that we did. One of the things I was going to ask you is, like, have you ever go to the foot doctor and get the study of your feet, how do you walk, or that kind of stuff, or not?
Not in terms of walking. So since, I did a lot of sports. I have some I already had some knee surgeries, so I have, like, in both of my knees I have a new how's it called, cruciate ligament. So this thing, soccer players always break. Exactly. And so I had, for some time, I had a lot of issues there, but it's fine now. So, and I'm running marathons and stuff like this now. So it's like the life is not over when you have an injury like this. And so I have how to call that. So I have these special things I have to put into the shoes, right? Exactly. And no, that's
even thicker.
Yeah, it's like, right, if you as you said, I don't know the English words, if you like have like X legs or O legs or whatever.
Yeah, right? This is what it does. These are handmade for me, and this is like do you have anything like this, Dennis?
No,
nothing.
I'm cross-legged as well, but I just don't use anything for it.
This one, I think, that a lot of people we get into when we are runners, and you realize that the pain doesn't go away, or that you have some kind of, like, for me, it was on my hips and on my side, I felt something weird. And since I have my insoles, everything has changed a huge. I'm like, they're not super expensive. I'm like, you can get the study and the insoles for like 80 euros. If you're into Caminos, if you're into walking, and if you have some kind of weird pain that doesn't go away no matter what you try, sometimes, go to one of the doctor, get these things, and they are incredible. For me, they were life changer. Totally worth the money that I spent. So get it checked. As they were saying here, that sometimes it doesn't mean that you are doing anything wrong. Maybe your body is just weird. For me, I don't like to walk with poles. I don't know if you guys like walking with poles or not, but for me, that's a no-no. It feels super uncomfortable.
If I want to walk fast, then I use poles.
Really? Yeah. So you're one of those Nordic walkers that go kind of like cross country?
No, actually, when I go to the mountains, right, and do mountaineering and stuff, and go on difficult trails there, okay, then I use poles. And I had my poles with me on the Camino, and if I have like a hard day or problems with my feet because of blisters, and I think the poles help to get some weight from your feet, and to make it, for me, easier to walk then. And also, if you want to hurry, which you shouldn't, then poles also work.
But for me, Dennis, one of the things that I realized with walking with poles, and you saying that you walk with poles, is like you need to be also trained how to walk. I'm like, there's a technique, and if you don't follow it, it feels like weird. I don't know if you're
I mean, it's going fast. Like after I would say like an hour or two of when you try the first time walking with poles, you just get it in, and then it just becomes natural. For me right now, it's actually the thing. I can't walk without poles anymore.
Really?
Like, I got so used to them, that was crazy. I carry, even if I'm not using the poles, I carry them in my hands all around and flipping them around. It's just they were nice. An extension of me. It was crazy, yeah. But yeah, it's like Thorsten said. Like first of all, if you use poles, you can get a lot of load out of your legs. Like since you're using your arms and pushing down with it, it's easier for the legs, and it's also, you can go at least 20% faster over a long period of time with poles. Like there's a lot of things.
May I ask you guys how you walk? So you say you did this, right? So funny, I do not use one pole with one leg. I do it like the skiing guys. I do
like cross country.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. I think only weirdos do that.
Yeah, because
it works fantastic for me. So
definitely. When it goes uphill, like
going uphill,
I do it the same thing, like skier, but like when you have like relatively flat ground, like I just do like the usual walking wise.
Yeah, but skiers, depending, if you're going down, you mark with your one, and that you mark the turns, and that's the whole idea. Like Nordic walking, if you see the Nordic walking, the whole idea is that you get into this space, this movement that flows, no? But the Nordic walking and like the Nordic ski is just, as you were saying,
you push yourself.
You see that a lot right now in running races in the mountains. These long races that they go like that. Also, most of them are skiers, so they push themselves a lot, but never seen that one in the Camino. So that's funny. But again, it works for you, so it's great. And that's the whole thing about all of this. Figure out your way, and if it's weird, ask someone, try, because sometimes it's just that maybe that is not for you. For me, never. You will never see me with poles. I'm always with my backpack, my fingers here in the backpack, and I always go like that. Never in my life with poles. I may try one day, but
I think it's two things, right? One thing is you have to train in terms of find out what works good for you, and if you do not have too much training, then you need to give yourself the room and the space to find out, to listen to your body, what works, try this, try that, and then use what works best for you.
And that's also the perfect of the Camino Frances. I'm like, even something doesn't work, I'm like, I wouldn't say ever play with shoes. Always wear something that you have wear before. Yeah. In the worst of the case, if you try, like, let's say you buy this hiking, running, and you don't like them, grab any sneaker, running, something that you have used at home, and take it to the Camino. Don't ever try anything new. But in terms of walking poles or anything, the Camino Frances is full of stores, is full of anything. So don't be afraid of just trying and
but if you use poles on the Camino, then go and have rubber
yes, thank you. I hate the
because click, really the click from the people, it's horrible, like really.
I would never use poles on
On asphalt?
On streets, for example. So when they for me, the rule is when they make too much noise, it's not the right environment to use them.
But as you were saying, Dennis, right now there's even specific ones for walking that they have, like they are like this. It's pretty funny that it's like this. They have the curve and everything. So as you were saying, first of all, for respect for other pilgrims, because they are really sometimes they are a little don't like it, but also because you're going to destroy your poles, and also they're not going to feel the same way. But let's move on to we were talking about the break, the having that relax, but what can a lot of people they one of the things that we haven't talked at sandals. Neither one of us we hike with sandals. For me, I hate them. I think getting anything in my feet, that feeling when I'm hiking, I like to run, jump, get into the grass, or getting pebbles or anything. For me, it's a no. I don't know if you guys are on the same opinion with sandals or not.
I need something to protect my toes because I always run into something. I'm just not good at walking.
You run into something, or something runs into you?
Both ways, I guess. So no, I don't use sandals. I only use like camping sandals. So after the hike, I put on sandals and my beloved Crocs and walk around the town with that, but not during the hike itself.
What about you, Thorsten?
Yeah, sandals are no option for me. I need a full shoe around my feet, as you said, because it feels like in sandals I cannot run. It's not like I want to run, but it might be necessary. I don't know. And it feels, for me, I think with a sandal there are less touching points with my feet, right? Than instead of having a real shoe. And therefore, sandals are no option for me for walking.
Yeah, here our friend says that the click gives you the rhythm. I would rather fill the rhythm with music or with opening beers or whatever, other than the click, click, click.
Also, many beers to open if you want to make a rhythm out of it.
Click. And like the last time I was walking, it was funny. Like they were a little older crowd, and they were all walking with poles, and there was no way they were all putting the click, click at the same time. So you just get a click, 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 click here. That I'm like, I'm done. I'm running ahead. That's why I wear running shoes, no sandals. For me, the sandals are just weird. I think, maybe this is something generational. Probably we haven't worn sandals much in our lives, and the older crowd do. And I know a lot of older pilgrims, they wear sandals year round, and it works great for them. So, right now, thank God, there is a huge amount of great hiking sandals for very great brands that you can try. But let's go what we were gonna go after the Camino, present you the Crocs. Do you remember the campaign that was on the Instagram and the internet, the what are those, that people used to laugh at people wearing Crocs and wear shoes?
You have to be like really careful with that. If you wear these Crocs too long, you get like a sunburn on your toes, but with only the holes there. Exactly.
I've seen that.
That looks so ridiculous.
And big question, Dennis, Crocs with or without socks?
That's a good question.
And this is really Spanish.
Right now in the house here, I'm wearing my Crocs with socks, but only because it's too cold. On the Camino, I definitely would wear them without socks because I need to get like air to my feet. After like 10 hours of walking, it's just let the dirty stuff out.
What about you, Thorsten? Are you Crocs or flip-flops or any other kind of?
Actually, flip-flops, and
I think I bought swimming kind.
I bought them on the Camino Portuguese. I think in the first big town after Porto, because that's the one thing I forgot somehow. And well, they're breaking down now. But
the question is socks or no socks?
No socks, because the feet needs to breathe, and the skin.
And also because if we see people with flip-flops or Crocs with socks in Spain, those are gringos, foreigners. You can tell who's not a Spaniard. First of all, few Spaniards wear Crocs. That's just reminiscent of my out of Spain times. And the great thing with Crocs is that they are really soft and comfortable, but for me they are too plasticky. Like here, there's too much plastic. So when I wear them in the Camino, I'm more of a open. I don't even wear yours, Thorsten. I'm like, I like this, or this, or espadrilles, because these are super breathable. I will get into the shower with them. They dry, and even I can use them to walk. Sometimes getting into a town, we just take the shoes off and walk with this. And these are also super light compared to any other stuff. And these are from the Chinese, €3. They're not real brand, and they're amazing.
Same for me. And I think for me, it's like I need as less around my feet as possible. I still do not want to walk barefoot, especially if I have some problems with blisters or something. So I need some sort of shoe, but with as less material as possible on my feet. And therefore, I definitely need.
So question for you, have you ever tried, right now there's been going for long, but even trail runners, they have the minimalist, those that they're just, like a thong and just a little soft plastic that absorbs impact like crazy. Have you ever tried those? I'm thinking about those for a while, but
no.
It's like this, but it will be like, like nothing, like this big, and here will be just like a thumb, like just that, nothing more.
For me, it's hard to think of, because it feels like if there is just like this very small thing holding, then this is everything that is holding the shoe to my feet, and that means there is much more power at this certain point of my feet, and I think at some point it might hurt to.
And like people use this for like long, for ultra trails, and they seems to work, but also they say that you have to train a lot with them. But for me, I don't know.
Maybe it's that. Maybe you need to get used to it, right?
Question for you, Dennis. What about the 5 fingers? We saw those like probably 7-8 years ago. There's still, maybe I see a couple guys in the Camino once in a while. Have you tried those 5 fingers?
Not in shoes, only in socks.
In socks. And
I swear, I never go on a hike without my Injinjis. That's
really.
Yeah, I started like, I guess like everyone else. I walked into like a shoe shop, and and they told me what I should wear on my feet, and they gave me like hiking socks, and every trail I got blisters, and then I changed like to finger socks, and no blister again. Like I'm a free spirit now.
What about you, Thorsten? What kind of socks do you wear?
Actually, for a long time I used to wear hiking socks out of thick wool, right?
Yeah.
But since I got really problem actually on the Camino Frances with blisters, and I think in Leon I bought new socks, and I had very thin sport socks, I would say, and a second pair of little thicker sport socks. So, and what I do now is I always wear 2 pairs of socks. One very thin pair of sport socks that fit very well to the feet, and then another pair above, and that works very well for me in terms of avoiding blisters.
And I think, one of the things we're going to have to do one day, because we're already running to 1 hour episode, and this is crazy, it's like invite you both to talk about the big tales of the socks, because once you bring it out, there is so many, and like I hear from everything, from putting a chicken and I don't know, all kind of weird stuff about what to wear. For me, the wearing 2 socks is a big no-no, but that's for me, because for me, I feel that that's going to be, more friction. Since I discovered the seamless, super light running socks, for me, that's perfect. They're a little expensive, but right now you have the Decathlon, you have really cheap brands, and 5 fingers, I haven't tried them, but I will do my best. But it's funny that you bring up, there's such a big book of tales about what to put on your feet, what not to do. I hear from, putting women's socks and then the sock wool.
Ciao, Karen.
See you, Karen. But that can be, I think, we can do I have a friend, and I want just your big impression of thinking about this. He put napkins, women napkins, on the insole of their shoes.
Well, it's about finding out what works best for you.
But I'm surprised that you are not surprised. For me, I'm like, when I saw him, I'm like, what the heck are you doing with that? I'm like, why is going into your shoe? It's just to get the humidity and everything. I'm like, okay, it makes sense, but I never heard about that one. I guess you don't see people putting napkins, maybe they get a little undercover just not to be, but almost everything other than that. So, and just to finish, and I think, you're now invited to that fun day of things people do weird with their feet, but how do you prepare your feet for the Camino, Dennis? or you don't do anything
I
at all?
don't. I just don't.
But you walk normally. And
Yeah,
you take
I
care
mean,
of
like,
everything.
I'm used to walking now, so I don't need to do anything. What I would do if you're halfway unprepared, then just take something like a cream or something. Like in Germany, we use Hirschteigcreme.
Exactly.
That's a German smell. You will always go in an Alberge and smell the Germans before you listen
Really?
to them.
So it's like the Australians with the marmalade that they use.
Yeah, it's great, but it helps. Like it
helps.
helps. Like it keeps your feet like nicely stinky and soft. And yeah, that's the only thing. Other than that, probably nothing.
What about you, Thorsten?
Well, also Hirschteig is a must, and well, I always have my how's it called, nail scissor with me, and so when I get like parts of my skin getting hard,
just got it.
So I'm cutting around at my feet. Well, I'm also cutting around when I get blisters. So there is some point where I
have
cut around them. I used to do gymnastics for a long time, and there you get always blisters on your hands because you're working, and there you learn how to cut
it around
blisters, and because I think the important thing is, well, most of the time this blister stripes work very well, right? When you put them over.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Exactly. And then there might come some point where this does not work anymore. And there might come some point, or when the blister opens, and well, if it's not a real wound, for example, then there might be a point where you need to cut off some parts that are otherwise would be in the way and would be a certain point of new hurting.
Agree. We're gonna keep the surgery and the cutting and blood with the weird things that people do with the feet and invite you, because that's true. That's also, you brought a great thing. And for me, I'm like you. I cut the skin. I think it's much better than the whole nail and thread and all that crap. I don't think it works. I think it's worse, but from my experience. And also, as you were saying, the compete works great, but you have to put it prior to get the blister. If you put it with the blister, they're going to pop out and they'll come out. For me, there's, and I'm not a sponsor or anything. They're just good friends, and they may be like the ones you say in Germany, but this one is made in Spain. This one I use for my marathons. My feet get really dry and I get blisters. So one of the things people don't realize is blisters, they go because of friction. So if you have your feet well hydrated prior to walk or to a race, you're not going to get anything. And like people run with this, the Marathon des Sables, that's a marathon that they do in the summer in the desert, and no one blister. This is just, wax, bee wax with olive oil. So nothing other than that. The only thing that keeps your feet super hydrated. It's super comfy, and you just need to use it like 10 days prior to your Camino, and your Camino just put a little bit. No Vaseline, because Vaseline for me doesn't allow your feet to breathe, but this one, it's amazing. And also I have this one after, and this is it's a Galician. It's made in Galicia. And this is a tosho, is this plant. And this one is great for the recover here.
Okay,
like yellow. Yeah. And this one is great. Like really, like I use it for my running, and it has like a roll-on, but this is for after. Oh. Yeah, it haven't been used for a while. Things happen during life.
True. It is what it is.
It is what it is. The Camino is what it is, and things happen, and you fix it. And that's the thing that, we all learn making mistakes in the Camino. So I think the best thing to do is go to the Camino, make mistakes. But if we have to say 3 things, and I will start with the first one, never wear new shoes to the Camino. You say something, Thorsten?
Well, I was going to say that.
That's what I took it.
Same for the socks. Never wear new socks, used socks that you have already worn for some days, sometime.
And your turn, Dennis.
I would actually say walk into the shoe shop before you buy the shoes, because then your feet are already like this little bit wider, and then you already have like the difference between, because when you just drive to the shoe shop, go in there and try on new shoes, like you don't know how your shoes, how your feet will fit in them when they are with a backpack loading of 10 kilos and already walking 20 kilometers. So walk to the shoe shop. That's what I would say.
That's a good one, because we haven't mentioned, the whole half a number, one number, bigger or not. Right now, they even have thirds. I will always say that it's always great to go at least half a number, or here asking the iteration. Yeah, we will do the link, and yeah, it's called 6 Pro. 6 Pro is the iteration, and the recover is called Toxogel, and you can find them both in Spain. They're amazing, and they're in the Camino. But I agree. I'm like, sometimes maybe one number will be maybe too much for someone because their feet, they don't swallow so much. But as you say, half a number, I think that's worth, because it's not going to be more wrong. But if you walk to the store and get your feet a little warm up, that will be much better. As when, if you're trying a backpack, just try the backpack with weight on the store. Don't be scared. And also sometimes even ask the guy just to walk a little bit. Some stores right now, they even have the treadmill, and you can try there. Don't be afraid to ask. And if the guy over there is trying to sell you something expensive that you don't trust, run away. Right now, there's such a wide variety of stores that they really take good care of clients. And if they're trying to sell you something, I think for first Camino, anything over 100 euros, maybe too much. You can find great stuff. And if you're thinking of trail running or hiking and long distance or whatever, invest. But even right now with 40 euros, you can get great shoes at Decathlon. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. You are already invited to number 2. We continue with weird things that happen to the feet and weird stories, how to fix your feet while walking the Camino. And as we always say here in the Camino, buen camino, ultrella.
Hasta luego. Live long and prosper.
Yeah.